on numerous business proposals at my time there. And my role with X-ITE is a project coordinator, and this is kind of my first week, so I'm glad to be here. So Project X-ITE is an entrepreneurship hub at DU where we support student entrepreneurship throughout the whole campus. And Xplore specifically is to support students who have an idea or an early stage company and want to validate their ideas or want to continue growing an established venture. As most of you know, we're open our Xplore workshops to the public for free during this time. And so then our presenter, Olivia Omega with Wallace Marketing Group. Olivia has 20 years of branding experience and has worked on both the agency and the corporate side of brand strategy, social media, advertising, and digital marketing. Olivia has influenced the global brands of Frito-Lay's, Pepsi, and Starbucks, among many others. She also is the founder of Track Chair for the Denver Startup Week and the world's largest free entrepreneurial event, and teaches several small business accelerators. Olivia graduated from a degree in marketing from Lee School of Business at University of Colorado, Boulder, and now lives in Aurora, Colorado. So throughout this meeting, you guys are feel free to turn on your camera, please mute and unmute yourself as necessary. And this whole meeting will be recorded so that if you have to leave or we have other people not being able to attend, that it's going to be up on the website afterwards. And if you have questions, please use the chat function or please email us at projectxite@du.edu, and I'll put that in the chat for everyone to see. And I will hand it off to Olivia now.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. If there are questions throughout, definitely put them in the chat, and then we'll have hopefully some time to answer those questions towards the end. My goal is to go through the content fairly quickly so that we have time to discuss. I find that most helpful. So thank you for everyone that joined and hopefully y'all are hanging in there at home and in your respective places right now. I work from home normally, so this isn't new for me, but having the kids home and everyone in the house is definitely a challenge and definitely new. So this is a great break from my day and kind of my day-to-day of COVID marketing, COVID-19 crisis management and marketing strategy that I've been in. So thank you again for having me. I'm gonna share my screen with everyone. Just one second and show my slides. So hopefully everyone can see this. Can you give me a thumbs up? Yes, everyone can see my screen and we're good to go. Okay, awesome. So I'm gonna jump right to it. And the way this came up, the notion of COVID-19 marketing is I am the director of marketing for a nonprofit in Boulder. And a lot of people are reaching out just to understand what COVID-19 means for them and their business, but also how do you continue to market and what do you do and say in this time of crisis? So I have been getting hit, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well, with the COVID-19 emails from anyone and everyone under the sun, COVID-19 social media posts and all of these things. And one thing that I feel super strongly about that we'll talk about and really kind of how this whole presentation came about is the damage that brands and businesses and entrepreneurs are doing to their potential customer base by being tone deaf to what's happening in the world right now. And tone deaf simply means that you're carrying on marketing as usual, business as usual, posting the same things that you would always post, sending the same emails, sending the same sequence emails that are already set. You know, you set these sequences up months ago and they're hitting people in a time of crisis and they are coming across as insensitive. So that's how this came up. What we'll discuss today are a couple different things. We're going to talk about how to lead with relationship and values in your marketing strategies, ways to evaluate your current messaging. We'll talk about why your offerings will need more than just a simple facelift with regard to COVID-19, how to shift thinking towards long-term. There are a lot of different people on this call, which is really exciting. We've got undergraduate students, we've got graduate students, We have business owners, entrepreneurs, CEOs, founders. So the application, the concepts that we'll talk about today are going to be applicable to everyone. And it just comes down to how you're going to apply that to your specific stage in your business, your specific industry, your customers' needs, etc. So with that being said, what we will not discover today, these are the things that we will not get a clear understanding of, is understanding the cure for the economic crisis. That's a big hairy ball that we will not be touching on whatsoever. And I'll say this at the end of this presentation, but I'll plant the seed now that while COVID-19 has really struck us in a quick and powerful way over the last month or so, it is not leaving anytime soon. And even in our mindsets, when we get to a place where COVID-19 is now not a problem or an issue, we get to go outside, we get to resume working potentially, our economy will never be the same. So some of these things that we'll talk about today, we'll have to just remember that these are the new norm, and these are long-term ways of thinking that we'll just have to do now, regardless of when we're trying to wrap our heads around when we'll be done with this, because we won't. Today, we will not discover what is the answer to your survival, your personal survival, and your personal business. And we will not uncover specifically your individual COVID-19 marketing strategy, but we will come up with tools on how to do that. All of our situations are so extremely different. And clients of mine and people I work with range from solo entrepreneurs, moms that are stay-at-home moms now, who are trying to be the homeschool principal and teacher and dean and all of that for their kids while running a business, while running their household. So that's on one spectrum, one end of my client spectrum, and on the other end of actual corporations who have employees and are looking at potential layoffs. So we're not going to get to those nitty-gritties today, but I'm hoping to give you all of the tools to really evaluate your situation and come up with a marketing strategy that works specifically for you. So what I am definitely not saying, I had some people I posted on LinkedIn and Facebook with regard to just this insensitivity and people continuing with business as usual and marketing and asking customers, hey, spend X, Y, and Z hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on X, Y, and Z training without even addressing what's going on. So I am not saying stop marketing whatsoever. That is the furthest thing from what I'm saying, but we have to start looking at marketing in a little bit of a different way. And that's going back to actually Marketing 101. So when I took Marketing 101, and not to date myself, but this was decades ago that I took this first introductory class in college and understanding what marketing is. So if we think about what is that definition, and I'll ask you all, obviously you don't have to shout it out, but definitely think in your mind, what is the definition of marketing? When I ask this question, the responses I get are usually along the lines of marketing is a way to communicate the benefits of your product and service to close the deal or to create a sale. So that's probably fairly common. I bet a lot of you have that as your kind of definition for marketing. But I want to tweak that thought just a little bit, especially nowadays, because we are bombarded as human beings with 10,000 brand messages every single day. And I'm assuming that even with our lockdown order and social distancing and all of that, that number probably hasn't dropped. If not, it may have increased. So think about the messages you receive, even listening to Pandora or Spotify, the brand messages that you are receiving through the YouTube consumption, whether that's an actual ad or it's a video that you're watching. Everything that we do is marketers, and this is why I love and hate marketing so much. I love marketing, and I hate it, but I love it, because marketers have found a way to infuse messaging into every single thing we do. So because of that, we have to think about marketing as being this notion of a relationship. So in my mind, the definition of marketing is to build relationships that will lead to sales. The end goal is sales, right? But it's to build relationships to lead to sales, not market to get the sale. We've kind of jumped and skipped that little piece in that middle of building relationship. Anyone that has taken any of my classes or worked with me at all knows that I am probably in a detriment use dating analogies to explain marketing. I feel like I could literally write a book on everything I learned about online marketing, I've learned through online dating. And that is, you could skip from, I think a lot of you might have heard the notion of like, know, and trust. You could skip from know, which is, hi, my name's Olivia, all the way to close the deal, buy X, Y, and Z from me. And I think of the notion of a one-night stand or just an immediate, we're on a blind date. Hi, my name's Olivia. All right, let's just cut to this chase. Let's go home. And a lot of times we market that way. And so in COVID-19, because we are literally in a crisis, we're in a pandemic, we have to make sure that we're being super mindful not to skip those steps. And even with customers that know who we are and that have a relationship with either us personally, our brand, that know and trust, the trust piece is so critical. And continuing to foster and grow that trust is even more important today than it has ever been. So within our marketing, we have the opportunity to leverage this notion of brand love. It's very, very powerful. And we don't want to chance and skip these steps around making sure that people not only like us, know us, that they start to like us, they build this incredible trust around us. And that way they're able to remain loyal and remain customers even as we come into the light of the tunnel of coronavirus and COVID-19. So let's start with the customer's fears and needs. Let's start with the customer in mind. We want this customer to have a relationship with us and our brand. We want them to know, like, and trust us. And we want them to feel like we're there for them in this time. It's tricky depending on what you're selling. And we could look at, if I'm selling jewelry, how am I really there for someone during this time of COVID-19 versus if I'm selling healthcare or I'm selling face masks, let's say. So we have to remember that everything has to be taken in this notion of who we are and what we're offering as a brand. However, everything will start with what are the needs of our customers? What are their fears right now? So let's assume that this is our customer. Their fears can range from, I'm worried about my family. I'm worried about contracting COVID-19 on my workplace or through my child's daycare, whatever that might be. Or maybe it's my job and my income may be in jeopardy. There were last week 2 million people that applied for unemployment just last week. People are being laid off day by day. So if I come in and I'm selling, I feel like I need to come up with a tchotchke in my head. A lot of times I'll use a paper clip, but I'll go beyond that. If I'm selling, I'll go back to jewelry since I used that example earlier. If I'm selling jewelry and my customer's main concern is my job and my income may be in jeopardy, then I want to be sensitive to that. I want to pause and evaluate how I am selling. How am I supporting that customer? I've lost connection with loved ones. We've been in quarantine. Many of us have parents that are older that we haven't been able to see. Some of us, even including myself, have had kids that we haven't been able to see over the last 2 weeks because of this. And so these are the fears that are coming up. There's a study, and I'm just going to give you the quick name of it. It was conducted March 20th through 21st. So I'm assuming that some of this may have shifted a little bit, just seeing that we're into April already. But GS Communications, if you go to gscommunications.com, they did a study to understand what are needs of consumers today with COVID-19 happening. They asked, what are some of the challenges that have started, that have come up for you working from home due to COVID-19 and the coronavirus? The number one challenge was lack of exercise. It was the number one challenge that came out of this study. The second one was setting up technology to work from home. They also then asked parents with kids in the home, are you having particularly hard time and what's coming up for them? 63% of parents with children 18 years and younger, which definitely includes myself, are juggling to keep kids occupied and working at the same time. It's a huge struggle. I won't go into everything, but I just want to pull out a couple other things. This is really just to get our brains thinking, and hopefully some things are popping into your mind, and please take the time to jot those down, of potential concerns and fears that your customers may have. And this may be in relation to life as we know it today. This could be in relation to potentially their job, or it could be in relation to your industry and your products. All right, so one of these was, which of the following have you done or started doing since working from home? The number one was take breaks from work every few hours. And then the second one was establish a dedicated workspace in my home. So you can start to see where some of these needs rise to the top. This might even encourage you to do a quick survey with your customers, with your Facebook followers, with people that you know either have bought from you in the past, or your potential customers that you foresee buying from you in the future. Could you do a quick, 3-question survey monkey that is asking them, what are your top concerns and fears right now? And you can mix those up, again, more general, and then down into with regard to maybe your sector, your industry. One way that some CEOs have been stepping into established needs is to create free tools, or to allow their tools to be shared for free. So Eric Wan of Zoom is a great example of that. Zoom, I want to say the usage, this was early on. So I'm super out of touch with the day we're on. I know people that are like day number 14 or day number 20. I have no clue what day we're on, but early on, Zoom saw an increase by, I think 14 times the usage, or maybe it was even 22 times. So not 22% increase, but a 22 times increase in Zoom usage due to COVID-19, due from people working at home, etc. So what the CEO did was to give K through 12 schools the video conferencing tools for free. And basically that's taking the free platform that he has, that has that 40-minute limit where you get cut off after 40 minutes, and extending that for teachers, also allowing them to use chat rooms, break-off rooms, etc. So this is a great way where someone whose product and service is super relevant to the needs of everyone right now, which is rare, unless you're Zoom, Google Hangouts, and certain others very specific products and services, you're not 100% relevant right now. But this was a great way to take something that you already have and to give it freely. And now, as we come out of this, as we will come slowly out of maybe working 100% from home, he's got users for life. He has given more exposure for his product than ever during the situation by giving it away for free. So seek opportunities to love on your customers. There's a lot of trauma and healing happening with loved ones. And I know that for me personally, 3, 4, or 5 weeks ago, it was hard to conceive knowing someone that would contract the virus, but even harder for me to conceive that I would know someone that would actually die from the virus. And that has happened. I think a lot of us are feeling that. So look at what you can do. Going back to the notion of jewelry, instead of maybe selling right now because, it's a tricky time, what if you talked about, a way that you could, while you're at home and really looking for things to keep you occupied beyond Tiger King. Don't raise your hand if you've been watching that. I binged it. I got sucked in. So beyond watching Tiger King on Netflix, you could go through your jewelry and do a quick inventory, or look at the pieces that give you joy and love and start to wear those at home. Try to infuse a little bit of joy and love into your day-to-day, even with everything that's going on. That's just a really quick example. But to start looking at opportunities for you to love on your customers and really fill up that love bucket. Empathy marketing is this notion of not only being sorry or saying, gosh, I'm sorry for what we're going through right now in our world, but actually moving past that to say and to understand the pain. So again, think about, are there ways that you can do that with the product and service that you're offering? Now is such a great time to increase that trust, as I mentioned earlier, and to educate. There are so many people right now doing the most amazing Zoom calls that are just pouring knowledge and education into their customers, talking to them about why it's important to, why it's important to learn how to effectively communicate in a relationship. With all of these families being in close quarters, relationships are tested and tried. So if you're someone who is a life coach, now is the perfect time to start talking about and educating and pouring into your customer base on tips and tricks to learn in communication. For all of you, it doesn't matter what you're selling or what your product is, now is a great time to pour into your customer and to educate them. Start giving it away. Give it away freely. I have been, I started my first company. This is way, way back when I was a kid. I started with Barbie dolls and designing Barbie clothes. And then I moved to stuffed animals and designing stuffed animal clothes and was selling them across Colorado. And this was like before the internet existed. But one thing since even then, so since 13, 14, going into my 20s, and even now working with hundreds of different entrepreneurs, the thing that is reoccurring, not only in my own mind that I've had to shift and overcome from, but in the minds of most entrepreneurs that I deal with, is this fear of missing out. Kind of like it's FOMO, but not really. I literally had to Google what FOMO meant. That shows you how old I am. And my kids are teenagers, so they don't even want to give me the answer. They just laugh and keep walking. But this fear of missing out on customers, on money, on revenue, on income. And so when we talk about this notion of giving things away for free, sometimes we're so hesitant, even knowing that if I give this knowledge away, if I give away my best stuff, not just like the little things. I've created ebooks and free downloads and all of the things. When I give away my best stuff for free, I'm attracting the best clients who are ready, willing, and able to pay for my services because I've built that relationship and trust with them. So as we find ways to fill up emotional buckets with our customers, we want to think about three things. Give in a way that is meaningful. So again, I want to give away some of my best stuff. I don't want to be stingy, especially now in this time of the pandemic and crisis, and all of our emotions are super, super high. If you can find a way to give and to emotionally connect to your customer, and this goes for anyone working B2B as well. For a B2B customer, let's say it's the CEO of an organization or the CFO, the HR manager, and that is your customer within an organization. Their emotions are super high. They're trying to stay in business. They're trying to figure out, how do I lay off 300 people next week? I know that I have to do it. How do I keep from laying off people? How do I talk to my employees and build trust in them and reassure them that I'm on their side and that we're in this together? So even with those of you who are working B2B, think about ways to fill up the emotional bucket of the customer that you're targeting. Give in a way that is meaningful, give in a way that's authentic. And as consumers, we can kind of see through that. If you've ever been marketed to in a way and you're like, that's not authentic, we kind of can see through it. Again, 10,000 brand messages a day, consumers are getting really good at, we as consumers are getting really good at seeing through inauthentic messages, and where someone is trying to give, hey, buy one, or what is it? Buy 3, get 1 free, or, whatever. Be authentic in that giving. Give away something that is meaningful, be authentic in it, and then give in a way that makes sense for your brand. I mentioned earlier that my inbox is flooded with COVID-19 emails. And some of those emails make sense to me. COVID-19, I got an email from my healthcare provider just about being safe and washing hands and not coming in unless I fit this criteria, et cetera. I've gotten emails from Frontier. I had a big trip for my birthday planned in 2 weeks, and I was speaking at a conference, and everything's kind of gotten shut down and canceled. So I'm getting notifications from them. Those make sense to me. But then I'm also getting emails from, the place that I ordered, I don't know if you're all familiar with those fidget things, like the fidget wheel, the spinners, fidget spinners. I got an email from a place I ordered fidget spinners from like 3 or 4 years ago, talking about COVID-19 and we're here for you, and make sure it makes sense for what you're selling, for your brand, and the relationship that you have with your customers. I want to bring up this example because this is the example that I leveraged on social media. Again, when I was getting hit with so many marketing messages, buy my this, sign up for coaching, it only costs $2,000, sign up for this, with no head nod or mention of what we're all going through. And this struck me as an amazing case study. DJ D Nice, and if none of you have been on his some of his live dance parties, then you'll have to see when he's having another one. But this DJ probably 2 weeks ago did a live dance party on Instagram and called it Club Quarantine, very catchy. And I think that very first night, I want to say he had maybe 200, 300 people show up. And he did it every night for, back to back for 4 or 5 nights. The next night he had a couple thousand people show up. And then by the third night, 100,000 people showed up on his Instagram live. And he just did what he loved. And he got some of these really great celebrities to show up. So of course he did some shout outs. He did a shout out to Beyonce, Michelle Obama, Joe Biden, Steph Curry, all of these celebrities that were showing up at his dance party. The next night he had 150,000 people show up on his live dance party. And one thing that he did, and he talked about this in a couple different interviews, he said that he wanted to meet his people, and his people being anyone and everyone who loved music where they were at, and wanted to provide something that they were missing in this moment. So thinking about being a DJ, it being music, it could be so simple and something that seems so like unnecessary in this time of need. But what he provided was, or what he addressed in what he did, was the need for connection, just to feel connected. As we are so separated and separate in our different houses, people have a need for connection. He knew that his followers had a need for like joy, just pure happiness and joy in their lives. So he met that need. And then the third need, he said, was the need just to dance, like simply to dance. And I feel this too. If I'm dancing, the troubles of the world and like the issues of the world kind of start to fade away. So he addressed those outright. He did not charge for any of these. He didn't even put up a, Cash App link or anything like that. He purely gave from his heart. Now, what happens when you request, this is another analogy that I love, when you request funds out of an ATM that's linked to a bank account that doesn't have funds in it, you get an insufficient funds notification. These are painful. This has happened. Hopefully, I'm not the only one. This has happened to all of us. Where you go to an ATM and you're, taking a couple $100 out, or you haven't transferred the money yet, or you haven't gotten paid yet. You're taking out $30 or $40 and it's declined, insufficient funds. So what DJ Nice did was he was totally pouring into and giving. So we talked about those 3 ways to give in a way that's meaningful, give in a way that's authentic, give in a way that that makes sense for your brand. As you are giving, you're depositing into an ATM. And this analogy is great for marketing, period. regardless of what situation, regardless of what economy that we're in right now. As you give, you're giving free knowledge, you're giving support, you're giving advice, you're giving tools, resources, things that you can spare right now. If any of you have ever, written a checklist or an ebook or some sort of tool that you've already put the work in, it's done, think about can you use that to actually pour into and give into your audience? The more you give, the more money, quote unquote, more like marketing money, marketing dollars you have in this ATM to be able to withdraw. And when you withdraw, that is actually going in for the sale. So I've given value. I've put love and built trust, and I've put love into the buckets of my customers, right? Now I'm going to come back because I've given so much, and I'm going to say, hey, here's an opportunity for you to receive more, or for us to work more closely together. And I'm going to sell a product. So remember, we talked at the very beginning about the definition of marketing. Marketing is not to sell to close a deal. It's to build relationships with a sale to come. So as I'm putting into this ATM, I'm able to make withdrawals and to say, hey, I now do have this product to sell. And just like an ATM, if there's money in there, the money's going to come back out. And so I don't have to worry about the fear of missing out. I know that any customer that I've built a relationship with, and that in these trying and stressful times of COVID-19, I've shown that I am supportive and caring and giving, and that I've shown empathy for, they are going to want to spend money with me. They're going to want to. They're going to want to get closer to me or my product. They're going to want to buy from you or your product. I want to take a second to talk about avoiding COVID washing your marketing. COVID washing simply means that you've literally taken the words COVID-19 or crisis in a pandemic, and you've thrown it on your email, your social media posts, whatever you're putting out there from a marketing message standpoint, simply to get people's attention. I put this up here, this meme, because we've all been seeing so many memes. Oh my gosh, some of them are really good. Some of them are really funny. Some of them aren't so funny. Some of them are, don't make sense. But there's a lot of times we have to laugh in order to not cry. So there's lots of memes going around, but again, lots of COVID-19 washing. And one example of that is I was looking up a Zumba. There's like this favorite Zumba link. I don't know if y'all have any. These are my I don't even call them first world problems. These are Olivia problems. It takes me so long to go through YouTube and find a workout video that I will actually, and be okay looking at, that isn't annoying, that has the right music. It has, everything has to be perfect. But two, that I'll actually do, because oftentimes I'll start playing a YouTube video and I'll sit on my couch and I'll end up watching the whole thing. I'm really bad at home. At-home workouts are just not for me. But I have found this Zumba 40-minute class that I love so much. I've saved it. I go back to it every other day. Like, this is my Zumba workout. And I went to go find it and it was gone. And I think it was somehow whoever created it turned it to private or whatever. So now I have to go through this whole process and look up another Zumba workout. And I saw so many workouts that said, literally in the title, coronavirus Zumba, COVID-19 Zumba from home, COVID-19 pandemic Zumba, crisis Zumba. And trust me, I get SEO, I get it. YouTube is extremely powerful in that manner, but make sure you're not COVID washing your marketing message and basically creating clickbait. And if you haven't heard of the term clickbait, it literally is just, you're putting a title on there that doesn't quite match what you're actually promoting or selling, simply to get people to click on it. It's not cool. And it chips away at that, that picture I showed earlier, which was like a heart with little Tetris pieces, and you're pulling away. Every time you do that, you're literally chipping away at the amazing brand relationships that you've built with customers and potential customers, people that are watching you that you don't even know are watching. And you just don't want to damage that right now. I'm going to give you two quick examples of local people who have done a really good job at this. And I could go on and on. I've got a ton of bad examples. I use DJ Nice or D Nice. I've got a ton of really good examples too. So I pulled these two out. And because we were talking about Zumba, I wanted to pull out Fit and New. These are sisters in Denver, Aurora area, and they did a 2-hour dance party, which was so much fun and so amazing. It was 2 hours literally of Zumba, and they switched off. It was on Instagram. I had my mom join. It was great, and they did not have to COVID-19 wash their marketing or their messaging to really connect with consumers. It simply was just, they're at home too, just like we're at home. Let's have a party. Another thing that was really great, a great example is Mo Abdullah from Cultural Energized created a series of 5-minute exercises or 5-minute breaks. And so both of these you can search and find on Instagram, Facebook, as well as on YouTube. But she created these 5-minute breaks that you can do at home. Remember going back to that survey I read where one of the #1 things that people were doing right now and working from home with COVID-19 was making sure they take breaks every couple hours from working. So this is perfect because she's leveraged that almost universal need in this time and created 5-minute videos. She didn't have to say, you know, COVID-19 breaks or scare us or like, you know, take advantage of our pain points and fears. She literally just put these out. Hey, we're all at home. Here's a 5-minute break that you could do at home. And she's been releasing these. And one thing I want to share though is, and this is, I want you all to think big picture and think about ROI, which is the next topic. As she's sharing these videos, she had mentioned that someone from Denver Public Schools saw this 5-minute segment and just how energetic it was and helpful. And again, she's pouring from her heart and giving in this time of need, something that's super valuable for all of us to take this break. Someone from DPS saw it and hired her to create a series of videos for the district by seeing that video. So we have to think bigger picture beyond how can I get sales today and what can I do? How do I convince people to buy from me today? To know that as you're planting these seeds and as you're filling up these love buckets, for lack of better words, that you're planting this notion of ROI for the future as well. So on that topic, and then we're starting to wrap up and hopefully we'll have a few minutes at the end for questions, understanding long-term ROI. So again, we're focusing on building relationships during this time of crisis. We're building we're building know, and we're building trust, which is supposed to be trust. Fill your sales ATM for future withdrawals, as we talked about, and then resist desperate need for immediate returns. We are all, I just was talking to another entrepreneur who every day last week had another customer call and cancel a contract because they just couldn't spend on marketing consulting right now. And I get it. And I'm there too, trust me. So we're all in a place where we're desperate for something. Some people are desperate to hold on to their hourly jobs. Some people are desperate to keep contracts. As entrepreneurs, it can be really hard in this moment of time, but I want to encourage you to resist that desperate need for immediate return and knowing that whatever I post on Facebook today and tomorrow doesn't have to be hitting people over the head with a sales message so I can get a sale today and make $50 or $100 tomorrow, but that I'm planting these seeds for long-term ROI. Again, we're not getting out of COVID-19 anytime soon. And even when we're able to move about and resume a little bit of life as usual, life will never be the same and our economy will never be the same. So we've got to think long-term about how we're building our customer base for revenue as we go out the rest of this year and into next year. So I want to go back real quickly to D Nice and that case study example and talk about ROI for him. So again, he didn't charge for any of these concerts or live dance sessions. He got upwards of $150K to attend one of the last ones that I was on. I'm sure it grew from there. And then the question is, well, how did he benefit from that? What happened, and how is he going to make money? Because he's got to survive and eat too. And I'll tell you, this is how that has happened. He grew his Instagram followers by 4 times. So he went up to and grew his followers up to 1.5 million people, 4 times the following he had prior, probably in like a 4 or 5 day period. That's incredible ROI. That's huge ROI. And that is something that he can now build upon and leverage throughout the next weeks, months, and even into next year. The other thing is he has built not only just 100.5 million people who are following him on Instagram, but he's built this entire 1.5 million person community of people who like, know, and trust him, and people who are just enamored by his heart that he would give to such a degree that brought some people so much joy and brought people so much connection. He said in an interview that he never knew that the greatest party he would throw in his lifetime would be virtual and would be online. So the ROI, if he were to go out now, and let's say that he made did another party, or he did something that's more exclusive, and he literally just charged his audience $5 per head, which everyone would do. Everyone would do that. Think about the ROI on that, how much money he could make, but he gave first, and he built that relationship first. So when it's all said and done, and like I said, it won't all be said and done. So we've got to think long-term. We have to be flexible enough to pivot. In business, in entrepreneurship, we talk about the notion of pivoting all the time. And any great CEO that has ever grown a business has always had to pivot. Any great CEO or any great entrepreneur that you see now most likely has launched several businesses that most likely have failed, and at any given point in time have had to totally pivot on their idea to stay with the times, to survive, to grow. I always go back to the Blockbuster example with this notion of pivoting or lack thereof. And there was a meme that I did see around social distancing that said something like, well, at least we don't have to drive to Blockbuster anymore to get movies because everything is streaming, everything. We don't have to go anywhere. But in Blockbuster, in that late, super late, and actually they didn't pivot. So I can't even say it was a late pivot. But in that late response to the changing times and technology, they lost their business. And the examples go on and on and on. So don't be the entrepreneur, the business owner, the CEO, and the founder that is rigid in their thinking. We have to literally pivot and readjust our entire business model right now. We must understand our customers' needs. Do a survey if you think that you can get into their minds, or call up a couple people and just start to understand what are their biggest needs right now that pertain to life, because those weigh heavy on everyone. And then what are their needs with regard to your sector, your industry, and your product? Pour into their love buckets, put some deposits into that ATM, y'all. You don't want to have a insufficient funds withdrawal on there. Evaluate your offerings, look at what you are putting forth, and maybe your offerings have to change. With regard to that notion of not COVID washing your message or your offerings, make sure that you're leaning against this 80-20 rule. The example I'll give is if I have a course, an e-course, and let's say that there's 6 different segments to this e-course, and it's talking about marketing and branding, I could COVID wash it and literally change the title of the e-course to say COVID-19 marketing in tough times, or I could name it what this presentation is, for example. But that content is not about COVID-19, and it really doesn't help. It's just the same thing. I've literally just slapped a different label on it. We want to make sure we're not doing that, because that's not authentic and genuine, and it's not meaningful. So if I'm going to do that, I could take something that I already have. So evaluate the offerings you currently have, evaluate what you've got in your back pocket. And if I were to create an intro video that is specific to COVID-19. And if I go back to each one of those 6 segments in that training, and I record an intro video for each 6 to talk about COVID-19, and I add an extra worksheet, and I add an extra checklist around COVID-19, okay, now I'm starting to adapt and shift my offerings to be applicable and relevant in this day. I'm not just changing the title. So if you think about a product, make sure that you're changing at least and adding at least 20% to that before you put it out there as quote unquote COVID-19. Adapt your messaging, as we said, give first in your messaging and don't look to sell immediately and right away. Plant those seeds. Shift your ROI expectations to be a little bit more long-term. I know that we're all in need right now, but resist that notion of being desperate to get sales in this moment. I promise it will take you a very, very long way. One last quick example. If you all want to go to manuelsuareztraining.com, you could go to this manuelsuarez.com. He's a great example of someone who has pretty much taken all of these steps and has hit it on the head. So his mission is to help people become successful in marketing, and specifically in today's era of marketing. He's created a COVID-19 marketing strategy and class. I want to say it might be 6 weeks too. I'm not quite sure. That is amazing. And I promise you, he did not create this in the last couple of weeks or month. I promise you this is all content that he's repurposed. But I also promised you that he's done it in a way that's super authentic and genuine. He's shifted more than 20% of it so that it's relevant. And it's a $2,000 course that he's giving away for free, because he wants to give and help. And trust me, people are going to take that course. They're going to be really grateful for him giving away this knowledge for free. And then as the time comes and it's appropriate, I'm sure that he's going to get people to hire him. But you can tell that it's genuine, that he genuinely wants to help people in a time of crisis. That is all I have. And I just want to do a really quick time check to make sure that we're good to go. It looks like we're just under 1 o'clock. And I see a bunch of comments and stuff in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And to reiterate, it was mentioned at the beginning that this is being recorded. So if y'all didn't get all the notes or didn't do the screen grabs of some of the slides, then you can always go back and look at it. So, all right. I guess I can go through and field some of these. Some of these are comments. So I won't read all the comments, but thank you, everyone. I'm just going to kind of try to go through and see if there's any specific questions. And as I'm going through the questions, potential questions, feel free to add more questions at the bottom as well. Let's see. Just lots of really good comments. Y'all are awesome. Kathy says, yes, I can relate to the workout video issue. The struggle is so real. It's just not even funny. I almost didn't even work out. I almost was like, you know what, forget it. I can't. You guys seriously don't have any questions? No? Well, I hope that was helpful. I want to encourage you again to go back to maybe the replay and look through, just evaluate where you are right now with your business. Like I said, we've got a lot of different people on here from an audience perspective, undergraduates, graduates, we've got entrepreneurs, people who are thinking about a business plan, maybe those who have just launched, or people who have been in business for 3 or 4 years. So everything I've mentioned today can be applied to where you're at. It's just going to look so different for each one of you with regard to how you actually move forward in this space right now. I want to, just from my own heart, encourage all of you to stay positive, put the people and resources and videos and music and dance parties, all the things around you that will actually help fuel you, give you inspiration and joy, and just take everything else with a little bit of grain of salt. Not the fact, I don't want people to just be walking outside and doing, you know, silly things, because we need to be respectful and mindful of what's happening right now. But I just want to make sure that y'all aren't spending all day long inside watching the news and getting worked up and just so much toxic stuff filled into you. Surround yourself with joy and happiness and all of those good things. Esther says, I'm in the jewelry space, but it's okay. I'm taking or talking about hope and understanding. Yeah. So some things are trickier than others, but again, I think we all have a place regardless of your product and service. It's just understanding what that is right now. A question, what about marketing strategies if it's a new business that just took off? Would this apply as well? Yes. I hate to say that, you know, there is no silver bullet, right? There is no right and wrong way. But I do want to say that what I've presented here today, I think truly can be applied to any product or service, whether you've just started or not. So if you're just starting, you might not have that brand love built yet. Then it's kind of a cool place to be in. It's a challenging place to be in, but it's a cool place to be in because you can really build that solid relationship in this, you know, crazy critical time, and it be all about authenticity, and it be all about being meaningful and having meaningful connections. I think about some brands that have built their entire platforms on humor, or just, I'm sure you guys can think of some of these. And I go back to food. So my whole life prior to being an entrepreneur was in consumer packaged goods. And so, you know, I think about Lay's potato chips, Doritos, you know, Fritos. I think about Mountain Dew, like all, you know, all of this stuff because of the world I was in. And so there are some brands like Skittles, maybe Doritos, I don't know, all these snacky, horrible for you brands that have really based their platform around snarky humor and, you know, just different things like that, which is great. And that's okay. I always think with a brand and with marketing, you want to attract and repel people, right? There's some people that hate Doritos marketing because it's silly and ridiculous, but all my teenagers love it and they love eating Doritos. So it works. But because they position themselves in that way, it's going to be trickier for them to pivot and try to be now authentic and emotional. And so I wouldn't recommend that for them. So this was really long-winded answer, but for you who have just started your business and you don't have that platform yet, you have an opportunity that's incredible to really build that in a meaningful way that you want to. Anything else?
So we're going to wrap up since it's 1:57. I wanted to thank everyone for being here and give Olivia another thank you and appreciative, like, virtual hug for taking time out of her day to come teach us about all of this. I'm going to put in the chat where you guys can go find this video. Like she said, if you guys aren't able to grab all the screen grabs, or like you didn't catch something and wanted to go over it again, that's in the chat below. And we also have some interactive mental health workshops tomorrow and 3 workshops next week. So you guys are all invited to attend those. And that will also be on our Project X-ITE page. If you have any questions, again, just make sure you reach out to Project X-ITE at du.edu. And that's it. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day. Thank you.